Hi Year 4, Miss Clancy here. I have got Beowulf with me again by Michael Pergo, and I thought today we could try and read the last story, or start reading the last story together, which is called Beowulf and the Death Dragon of the Deep. So I've been struggling to get some of my words out today, so you'll have to bear with me if there's any mistakes. Beowulf and the Death Dragon of the Deep. I hope you enjoy it. It was not so many years after this that in the heat of battle, High Jellic, brave king of the Geats, was struck down and killed. He was much mourned, for he had ruled wisely and well. But the Geats were fortunate indeed, despite their sadness, for their whole kingdom passed into the hands of that great hero Beowulf. For over 50 years he ruled the lands and ruled it fairly, generous always in spirit, a good and kindly king. Never had there been a king more loved and admired than Beowulf. Grey-haired now, for even this hero age had taken its toll. He had every right to expect a peaceful old age, but cruel fate was to intervene and deny it to him. We do not always get what we deserve. For 300 years or more, deep in a burial mound high on the cliffs above the moors, lay a hoard guarding dragon, sleeping all while undisturbed. So he might have stayed forever harmless in his dragon dreams, a hoard of golden treasure for his bed. No one would ever have known of him, nor of the treasure. But, quite by some chance, a nameless slave happened upon his cave. Condemned to a flogging, and on the run from his warrior master, he found the opening, and, seeking any shelter he could find, crept in and came across this slumbering dragon curled up on a pile of his treasure. Heaps of poor things there were. Seized with sudden terror at the sight of this monstrous dragon, the unfortunate slave wanted only to escape. But one golden goblet lay close by, so close he could simply not resist it. He snatched it up and ran for his life. And even as he ran, an idea came to his head. This goblet would be the perfect gift for my master, he thought. I'll go back and give it to him. Maybe it will appease his fury. Little did he know what fire fury he would bring upon himself and his whole people by this thoughtless act. Little did he know or care how this treasure had come to be there with the death dragon guarding it. How in a heathen age long ago one sole survivor from a whole tribe of earls, brought to a sudden and violent war death, carried this treasure hoard of a talisman into the mound, for he knew he could no longer guard it and care for it himself. He decided to hide it, bury it where no one could find it. Over the treasure he bewailed his grief for his lost friends, for the joys they had shared, crying out to the earth itself to protect the precious tribe treasure, the last vestiges of a proud people now slaughtered and silent in death. All their harp playing, all singing, done forever. So he left the treasure-filled mound, and maddened with grief wandered the wind-wild moors, until death came for him too. So all the tribe was gone, but the treasure remained. Soon there came that way a dreaded dragon, a night ravager. A foul flame fiend he was, always seeking out hellish hiding holes where he could rest. One day he happened on this same treasure-filled mound. Fate had brought him there, and made it his own, possessed it with his power, sleeping there on this priceless pillow till the end of time. Not that it did him any good. Possession was all his joy. So, for 300 years undisturbed, this death dragon guarded his underground hoard, until that doomed day when that wretched slave came upon the place by chance, discovered the godless creature sleeping there, and carried off that golden goblet, a peace offering to his master. So he thought. A luckless man. But the dragon, through his serpent scales, had felt the loss of the treasure, and hearing the footfall of the intruder, opened one angry eye and watched him go. After 300 years he was slow to wake. This worm of wickedness now slithered out of his hole, following where the fleeing slave had gone. Rage roaring, he circled his mound looking for the man's footprint, but found none out there in the wilderness. Yet he knew his treasure house had been breached, knew the golden cup had been stolen from him, and was burning with fire fury at the offence. He would have his sweet revenge, that was sure. He longed now for the flames of war, for the fire of battle again. After so many years of sleep, he could hardly wait. That night, this death-dealing dragon came flying over the moors. Armed with fire he came, spewing out flames wherever he went. He did not mind whose dwelling it was left behind, burning brightly behind him. In his eyes all were guilty of the crime. If he had his way, he would not have left a single man alive. Over all the Geatish land the blazing fires rose skyward. A scourge of fire spitting destruction he wrought in that one night, pouring out his venomous fire, burning everywhere and everyone with his flame-throwing poisonous breath. Before morning light came to the sky, with the country and its people left so cruelly ravished, the serpent flew back to his hidden hoard deep inside the secret mound. Here he believed he would be quiet and safe. But he was mistaken, as you shall hear. Beowulf had heard by now of the horror visited on his countrymen that night by this death dragon. His own mead hall was most magnificent of all buildings in the land. The very heart of the kingdom had been consumed by the serpent's fire. Sorrow overcame him when he saw the ashes smouldering. Grief gripped and guilt-ridden, that good king imagined he must have brought this on himself, that he had somehow angered this eternal God. When he saw that the devil's dragon had visited fire and fury on all the land by sea, where his people had lived out in their lives, in peace secure, they thought, in safety of their homes, then anger swelled inside him and overcame his grief and guilt. Now the old king roused himself to action and swore to punish this evil death messenger. Old he may have been, but Beowulf was formidable still in strength and will. At once he gave orders that a huge shield should be made, all in iron. He knew wood would be little use against the searing heat of the serpent's fire. Only with such a shield would he be able to come close enough to the hoard-squatting dragon to put an end to this murderous, miserable life. But Beowulf, this mighty warrior of old, would not go up against the death dragon with his army of warriors. He was a hero who had never known fear. He scorned the dragon's strength and his fighting prowess too. Beowulf had survived battles in plenty, and had emerged victorious in many other clashes since that time when he destroyed the monster Grendel and his sea hag mother, all those years before in the land of Hrothgar. He was not afraid again to do battle in defence of his people, this noble hero. So he took only 11 companions with him to seek out this fiery ravager of the night. They were all he would need, he thought. But one more came with them too, the slave who had stumbled by chance into the hidden mound and woken the hoard-watching dragon from his centuries of sleep. He had been discovered, this guilty slave had been found clutching this precious golden goblet. So the cause of the serpent's woeful attack had been discovered, and the slave was brought along, this cursed coward, to show them the way into the mound, for he alone knew the inside of the dragon's earth hall, and the cavernous lair heaped high with treasure where the dreaded dragon lay. Beowulf knew how formidable this underground guardian was, how fierce and fiery a foe he would be, and he was not wrong. Okay, we'll carry on reading it because that was quite a long bit. We'll carry on reading it another time. So I'll see you soon, stay safe, and I hope you enjoy the next part.